Captain Hana stood on the bridge of her ship, the Serendipity, watching the stars. She had been out here for 3 months now, studying the asteroid field near the Kepler corridor. Her ship was small, just a research vessel with a crew of 42 people. Most of them were scientists, not soldiers. But Hana had been a soldier once, and she remembered how to fight. "Captain, we have company," said Lieutenant Yuna from her station. The young officer's fingers moved quickly across her console. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're Velkir. Hana felt her stomach tighten. The Velkir Empire had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They were old, powerful, and they did not like humans very much. Humans were new to space, barely 300 years out among the stars. To the Velkir, humans were children playing with toys they did not understand. "How long until they reach us?" Hana asked. 20 minutes if they come straight for us," Yuna replied. She looked up from her screen, and Hana saw worry in her eyes. "Captain, they're launching something. Tracking drones." Dr. Day-Wan walked onto the bridge from his laboratory below. He was the head scientist on the ship, studying how human brains worked. "What's happening?" he asked. "We're about to find out if the Velkir want to talk or fight," Hana said. She pressed a button on her chair. "All hands, this is the captain. We may need to leave quickly. Be ready." On the lead Velkir ship, Fleet Commander Velkan watched his screens with satisfaction. The human vessel was small and alone. It would be easy to capture or destroy. He had heard stories about humans, how they fought strangely, how they sometimes won battles they should lose. But Velkan did not believe in luck. He believed in mathematics. "Deploy the tracking grid," Velkan ordered. "I want to know where that ship goes before it moves." His crew obeyed. Thousands of small drones spread out through space, each one running the most advanced prediction algorithms in the galaxy. These algorithms had tracked every species the Velkir had ever met. They could calculate where a ship would go based on its speed, its angle, its engine power, and 100 other factors. The drones would predict the human ship's movement, and Velkir weapons would be waiting when it arrived. On the Serendipity, Yuna watched the drones spreading out. "They're setting up a tracking net," she said. "If we run, they'll know where we're going." Hana nodded slowly. She felt something in her mind, like an itch she could not scratch. She had felt this before, in battles long ago. It was the feeling of knowing what the enemy would do. "Show me their drone positions," she said. The screen in front of her lit up with thousands of red dots. Hana stared at them, and something clicked in her brain. She could see the pattern. She could see where the Velkir expected her to run. "Helm, prepare for emergency acceleration," Hana said. "Vector 73 Mark II. The helmsman looked confused. "Captain, that's not an escape vector. That puts us closer to the asteroids." "I know," Hana said. "Do it. Now." Yuna suddenly understood. Her fingers flew across her console. "Captain's right," she said. "They're predicting we'll run away from them. They're not covering the near-field vectors." "Execute," Hana ordered. The Serendipity's engines roared to life. The ship shot forward, not away from the Velkir, but at an angle that seemed random. It dove toward the asteroid field at high speed. On the Velkir flagship, alarms started screaming. Velkan stared at his screen in confusion. "That's impossible," he said. "The tracking algorithms predicted they would run toward the outer system. They should be there." He pointed at a spot on the screen where several drones waited, but the human ship was nowhere near that spot. "Recalculate," Velkan ordered. "Find them." But by the time the drones recalculated, the Serendipity was already deep in the asteroid field, hidden among thousands of rocks. The tracking net had predicted perfectly where a normal ship would go. The human ship just was not there. Velkan leaned back in his chair. "Luck," he said. "They got lucky. Reset the net. We'll find them." Back on the Serendipity, the crew breathed easier. They had escaped, at least for now. Dr. Daewon stood next to Hana's chair. "How did you know?" he asked. "How did you know where to go?" Hana thought about it. "I saw where they expected me to go," she said, "so I went somewhere else." "But how did you see that?" Daewon pressed. "You saw it before their drones even finished setting up." Hana frowned. She did not have a good answer. "I just knew," she said. "I always know. It's like seeing moves ahead in a game." Daewon's eyes went wide. He had been studying human brains for 10 years, and suddenly something made sense. "Captain," he said slowly, "I think I need to run some tests. I think I know why the Valkyr can't track us." Yuna spoke up from her station. "Captain, the Valkyr are spreading out. They're searching the asteroid field. We need to move again soon." Hana closed her eyes. She could feel it again, that itch in her mind. She could see what the Valkyr would do. They would search in a pattern, sweeping through the asteroids from top to bottom. They would be efficient and logical. "We have time," she said. "They'll start from the outer edge and work inward. We're safe for another hour." Yuna checked her sensors. "You're right. That's exactly what they're doing." She looked at the captain with new respect. "How are you doing that?" Hana opened her eyes and smiled. "I'm not sure," she said, "but I think Dr. Daewon is about to tell us." Daewon was already running toward his laboratory, his mind racing with ideas. For 12,000 years, the Valkyr had tracked their enemies by predicting where they would move. But humans were different. Humans did not just react to the present. Humans could see the future before it happened. Not with magic, but with something far more powerful. They could anticipate. The war spread quickly. Within 2 weeks, human and Valkyr ships were fighting across 3 different star systems. The Valkyr had superior numbers and better weapons, but something strange kept happening. They could not catch the human ships. Commander Sang-woo piloted his small fighter, the Ghost Dance, through a cloud of enemy fire. His hands moved on the controls without thinking, twisting and turning through space. Behind him, 6 Valkyr interceptors tried to follow. Their computers predicted where he would go, but when they fired, he was never there. "Ghost Dance, you need to return to the carrier," his radio crackled. "You're outnumbered." Sang-woo grinned. "Give me 1 more minute," he said. He could feel where the enemy ships would be. Not where they were now, but where they would be in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. He pushed his fighter into a spin that should have been impossible, diving under 3 enemy ships that fired at the space he had just left. One of the Valkyr pilots screamed in frustration. "He's reading our minds! It's impossible!" But Sang-woo was not reading minds. He was reading patterns, possibilities, futures that had not happened yet. His brain ran through 1,000 scenarios every second, and he simply followed the one that kept him alive. On the Valkyr flagship Eternal Dominance, Fleet Commander Velkan stood in front of a wall of screens. Each one showed a different battle, and in every single one, the humans were winning. Not because they were stronger or faster, but because they were never where the Valkyr predicted them to be. A young Valkyr scientist named Dr. Ji Hai approached him carefully. "Commander," she said, "I have been studying the combat data. I think I have found something." "Tell me," Velkan said. His voice was tired. He had not slept in 3 days. Dr. Ji Hai pulled up a hologram showing the path of a human ship during a recent battle. "Watch this carefully," she said. "At this moment, our tracking system predicts the human ship will turn left. It takes our computer 3 seconds to calculate this prediction." "Yes, I know how our systems work," Velkan said impatiently. "But look at when the human ship turns," Dr. Ji Hai continued. "It turns right at this moment, 2.7 seconds before our calculation finishes. It's not reacting to our prediction. It's moving before we even finish thinking." Velkan stared at the hologram. You're saying they're faster than our computers? No, Dr. Ji-Hai said quietly. I'm saying they're not reacting at all. They're anticipating. They know what we will do before we do it. Velkan laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's impossible. No organic brain can calculate faster than our tracking systems. Maybe they're not calculating, Dr. Ji-Hai said. Maybe they're doing something else. On the Serendipity, young Ensign Tae Yang was looking at brain scans in Dr. Daewon's laboratory. Tae Yang was new to the ship, fresh from the academy, but he was good with computers. Very good. Dr. Daewon, Tae Yang said, look at this. These are brain scans from Captain Hana during the escape from the asteroid field. Daewon came over to look. The scan showed electrical activity in Hana's brain, colors flowing and shifting like waves. What am I looking at? Daewon asked. This is her brain-running simulations, Tae Yang explained. See these patterns? Each one is a different possible future. She's running maybe 30 or 40 different scenarios at the same time, all unconsciously. Daewon felt his heart beat faster. How many did you say? 30 or 40. And that's just what we can measure. There might be more. Tae Yang pulled up another scan. Here's Commander Sang-woo during his fighter battle yesterday. He's running even more simulations. Maybe 60 or 70. Daewon sat down heavily. That's why we can't be tracked, he said. We're not reacting to what is. We're responding to what could be. By the time something actually happens, we've already imagined it and prepared for it. The big battle came at the Trident Nebula. 3 human ships found themselves surrounded by an entire Valkyr fleet. It looked like a trap, and it was. Velkan had planned this carefully. His tracking systems had predicted the human ships would be here, and for once, the prediction was right. We have them, Velkan said. Deploy all tracking nets. I want to know every possible escape vector. This time we catch them. The tracking systems worked perfectly. They calculated every possible direction the human ships could go. Drones moved into position, blocking each escape route. The mathematics were perfect. The humans had nowhere to run. On the human flagship, Captain Hana watched the Valkyr net close around them. Next to her, Yuna studied the enemy positions. They're not leaving us any gaps, Yuna said. They know we'll try to escape through the nebula's dense regions. They do know that, Hana agreed. She was very calm. They've predicted it perfectly. So what do we do? Hana smiled. We do what they predicted, and we also do something completely different. I don't understand, Yuna said. They're watching what we are doing, Hana explained. They predicted we would run through the nebula. They're right. We will run through the nebula, but we already started running 10 minutes ago while they were still setting up their net. Yuna's eyes went wide. She checked her scanners and started laughing. The ships they're surrounding are just debris we pushed into position. We're actually 3 light minutes away, heading in the opposite direction. Velkan realized the truth too late. By the time his sensors picked up the real human ships, they were long gone. He had surrounded empty space and old metal. His perfect trap had caught nothing. Dr. Ji-Hai came to him again. Commander, I have analyzed this engagement. The humans did not react to our trap. They anticipated it. They saw we would predict their escape through the nebula, so they pretended to do exactly that while actually escaping elsewhere. Velkan felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. They're not just anticipating us, he said slowly. They're anticipating us anticipating them. They're playing a game we don't even know we're in. Yes, Dr. Ji-Hai said. And I think they've been playing it since the beginning. Every time we predict them, they're already several steps ahead. They're not moving through space faster than us. They're moving through time faster than us. Velkan looked at the empty space on his screen where the human ships should have been. For 12,000 years, the Valkyr had tracked their enemies by watching their movements. But humans did not move, and then get tracked. They anticipated the tracking and moved before it even began. They were ghosts, always one step ahead, always in tomorrow, while the Velkir were still in today. The war stopped for a while, not because anyone surrendered, but because the Velkir wanted answers. They demanded a meeting on neutral ground, at a space station called Kepler 7. Both sides agreed not to fight while they talked. Dr. Day-Wan prepared his presentation carefully. He would explain to the Velkir what made humans different. Next to him sat Bo-Ra, a diplomat who had spent years learning about alien species. She would help translate his science into words everyone could understand. The meeting room was large and cold. On one side sat the human delegation, just 5 people. On the other side sat 12 Velkir, including Fleet Commander Velkan and Dr. Ji-Hai. At the head of the table was Council Prime Thelvar, the oldest living Velkir. He had seen thousands of species rise and fall over his long life. "Begin," Thelvar said. His voice was like grinding stone. Dr. Day-Wan stood up. He pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a human brain glowing with activity. "This is what happens in a human brain every moment of every day," Day-Wan said. "We run simulations, constantly, without thinking about it." Velkan leaned forward. "What do you mean by simulations?" "We imagine possible futures," Bo-Ra explained. When a human walks down a street, their brain is imagining maybe 30 or 40 different things that could happen. A car could come from the left. Someone could step out of that door. The wind could blow that sign down. We don't think about it consciously. It just happens. "All species do this to some degree," Dr. Ji-Hai said. "We Velkir use computers to calculate possibilities." "Yes, but you calculate what is," Day-Wan said. "You take current data and project forward. Humans imagine what could be. It's different." Thelvar spoke again. "Explain the difference." Day-Wan changed the hologram. Now it showed 2 scenarios, side by side. When a Velkir sees a ship, your computers track its speed, angle, and power output. Then you calculate where it will be in 10 seconds based on that data. This takes you maybe 3 seconds to calculate. "Correct," Velkan said. "When a human sees the same ship, we don't calculate. We imagine. In 1 second, a human brain creates 40 different stories about what that ship might do. It might turn left. It might speed up. It might fire weapons. It might flee. We don't calculate these possibilities. We see them all at once." "That is not possible," Velkan said flatly. "No brain can process that much information." "Let me show you," Bo-Ra said. She gestured to someone standing by the door. "Sergeant Kyung-Soo, please come in." A young human marine walked in. He looked nervous to be in a room full of alien leaders. Bo-Ra smiled at him kindly. "Kyung-Soo, we're going to run a test. I want you to stand in the middle of the room and close your eyes." Kyung-Soo did as he was told. Bo-Ra turned to the Velkir. "I'm going to ask Commander Velkan to think about how he would attack Sergeant Kyung-Soo if this were a combat situation. He doesn't have to do anything. Just think about it." Velkan looked skeptical but nodded. He studied the room, thinking about attack angles and approach vectors. "Kyung-Soo," Bo-Ra said, eyes still closed. "If someone in this room wanted to attack you, where would they come from?" Kyung-Soo pointed without hesitation. "That corner there, where Commander Velkan is sitting. Or from behind me, using the door. Or from above if there were ceiling panels. Those are the 3 best options." Velkan stood up angrily. "You told him where I was sitting." "He's had his eyes closed the whole time," Bo-Ra said calmly. "He didn't know you were there. Kyung-Soo, how did you know?" The young Marine shrugged. "I don't know. I just imagined where someone would attack from if they wanted to win. That corner gives the best angle. The door gives surprise. The ceiling gives height advantage. It's just obvious." Dr. Ji-Hai was writing frantically in her notes. His brain ran through tactical simulations without any input data, she said, amazed. He created the scenarios from nothing. Not from nothing, Daewon corrected. From evolution. Humans evolved as hunters. We chased animals for hours until they collapsed from exhaustion. To do that, we had to predict where the animal would go, not just follow where it went. We evolved to imagine futures. Thelvar leaned back in his massive chair. He was silent for a long time. Everyone waited. Finally, he spoke. We Velkir spent 12,000 years eliminating uncertainty, he said. We built perfect tracking systems because we wanted perfect predictions. We calculated everything that is, so we could know everything that will be. Yes, Daewon said. But you humans evolved differently, Thelvar continued. You lived with uncertainty. You made it a tool. You learned to imagine not what will be, but what could be, what might be, what should be. That's exactly right, Bo-Ra said. Velkan shook his head. But this is impossible to fight against. How can we predict someone who is already predicting our predictions? You can't, Kyung-Soo said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. The young Marine looked embarrassed, but continued. Sorry, but you can't. Because we're not predicting your predictions. We're imagining the space of all possible predictions you could make. We're one level above you. Dr. Ji-Hai looked at Dr. Daewon. Is that true? Humans can really do that? Every human does it, Daewon said. Every day. We don't think about it. A human child playing hide-and-seek learns to think about where the seeker thinks they will hide, and then hides somewhere else. It's natural for us. Thelvar stood up slowly. His ancient body creaked. This changes everything, he said. For 12,000 years, we have been the ones who knew what would happen. We tracked the present so perfectly that we controlled the future. But you humans, you don't track the future. You live in it. By the time we calculate what is, you are already responding to what could be. We don't mean any disrespect, Bo-Ra said. It's just how we think. No disrespect, Thelvar said. But much fear, because we Velkir realize now that we have been playing checkers while you play chess. We have been tracking movements while you anticipate intentions. We calculate outcomes while you imagine possibilities. The room was very quiet. Finally, Velkan spoke. So what do we do now? Kyung-Soo, who probably should not have spoken again, said softly, You could learn from us, and we could learn from you. You're really good at tracking what is. We're good at imagining what could be. Together, we might be able to see everything. Thelvar looked at the young human Marine for a long moment. Then, for the first time in anyone's memory, the ancient Velkir leader smiled. The peace did not last. Some Velkir leaders refused to accept what they had learned. They said humans were too dangerous to leave alone. Within a month, the war started again, bigger and more violent than before. But this time, the Velkir had a new weapon. They called it the Chaos Engine. Admiral Hae-sun commanded the human defense fleet from her flagship. She was older than Captain Hana, with white hair and scars from many battles. She watched her screens as Velkir ships approached across 7 different star systems. Something's wrong, said Lieutenant Yuna, who now served on the Admiral's ship. Their movement patterns are completely random. I can't predict them at all. Hae-sun frowned. She tried to feel the usual anticipation in her mind, the sense of knowing what would happen next. But there was nothing. Just chaos. They've learned, she said quietly. They made themselves unpredictable. The first battles were disasters. Human ships that relied on anticipating enemy movements suddenly found themselves facing enemies that moved randomly. Ships exploded. Pilots died. In 3 days, humans lost more vessels than they had in the previous 3 months. On the Eternal Dominance, Velkan watched the victories with satisfaction. The Chaos Engine works, he said to Dr. Ji-Hai. Randomness defeats anticipation. But Dr. Ji Hai looked worried. Maybe, she said, but randomness also defeats strategy. Our ships are winning, but they're not fighting efficiently. We're wasting resources. We're winning, Velkin said. That's all that matters. Commander Sang-woo barely survived his next battle. His fighter limped back to the carrier with hull breaches and dying engines. He pulled himself out of the cockpit, angry and confused. I couldn't read them, he told Yuna when she came to check on him. They just moved randomly. No pattern, no purpose. Yuna sat down next to him. She was thinking hard. Random, she said slowly. But why were they there at all? What do you mean? They moved randomly, but they were at that battle for a reason, right? They had a mission. They wanted to destroy our cargo ships. Sang-woo sat up straighter. You're right. They moved randomly, but their goal wasn't random. They still needed to achieve something. Yuna smiled. We've been trying to predict their movements, but maybe we should predict their intentions instead. She ran to find Admiral Hai-sun. When she explained her idea, the Admiral listened carefully. Then Hai-sun called Dr. Dae-won on a secure channel. Doctor, Hai-sun said, can we predict what someone wants to do even if we can't predict how they'll do it? Dr. Dae-won thought about it. Yes, he said. That's actually easier. Human brains are very good at understanding goals and intentions. Even if I don't know which route you'll take to work, I can predict you want to get to work. Then we need to retrain everyone, Hae-sun said. Stop trying to predict movements. Start predicting missions. The change happened quickly. Human commanders stopped trying to guess where enemy ships would move. Instead, they asked themselves, what is the enemy trying to achieve? What do they need to accomplish? Sang-woo went into his next battle with a new mindset. The Valkyr ships moved chaotically, twisting and turning with no pattern. But Sang-woo ignored their movements. He looked at the bigger picture. The enemy had come to destroy a human supply depot. That was their goal. To do that, they needed to get within weapons range of the depot. So Sang-woo did not try to predict where they would fly. He simply positioned himself between them and their goal. When they moved randomly toward him, he was ready. When they moved randomly away, he let them go because they were moving away from their objective. The battle turned in his favor. The Valkyr could move however they wanted, but they still had to accomplish something. And humans could predict what they needed to accomplish. Meanwhile, Dr. Dae-won worked on something new. He created a neural interface that let human crews link their minds together, not to read thoughts, but to share their anticipation simulations. One human brain could imagine 40 futures, but 50 human brains working together could imagine thousands. Admiral Hae-sun volunteered to test the interface first. Her crew of 50 officers and pilots put on the neural headsets. At first, it felt strange, like hearing whispers in a crowded room, but then the whispers formed into something clear. Hae-sun could feel everyone's predictions flowing together, creating a vast map of possibilities. I can see it, she whispered. I can see everything they might do. With this new advantage, Hae-sun planned something bold. She called it the Phantom Gambit. She positioned her entire fleet near Earth's outer colonies. The formation looked desperate, like humans making a last stand to protect their homeworld. She made sure Valkyr scouts saw her ships there. She wanted them to see. Velkan took the bait. They're protecting Earth, he said. If we destroy their fleet there, the war is over. Commit everything, every ship, every resource. The entire Valkyr armada moved toward Earth's outer colonies. It was the largest fleet anyone had ever seen, thousands of ships ready for the final battle. But Admiral Hae-sun was not at Earth's outer colonies, not anymore. 3 days earlier, she had anticipated this exact scenario. She knew the Valkyr would see her defensive position. She knew they would commit everything to one final battle. So she had already moved her fleet, leaving behind only old satellites and debris arranged to look like ships on long-range sensors. While the Velkir Armada approached Earth, High Sun's real fleet struck at the Velkir supply lines 3 sectors away. Without warning, without mercy, human ships destroyed the fuel depots, ammunition stores, and repair stations that kept the Velkir war machine running. By the time Velkan realized the truth, it was too late. His entire fleet was at Earth, facing nothing but empty space, and his ability to continue fighting was burning away 3 sectors distant. Dr. Jihai found Velkan staring at the tactical display. "They anticipated everything," she said softly. "They knew we would see their defensive position. They knew we would commit everything. They were playing a game 3 moves ahead of us." Velkan felt something break inside him. For his entire life, he had believed the Velkir were superior because they could calculate perfectly. But humans did not calculate. They imagined, and imagination was infinite. "They weren't moving," Velkan said. "They were anticipating. We tried to track their movement, but they were already done moving before we even looked. We were playing checkers, they were playing chess, and we never even knew there was a difference." 6 months after the war began, the human fleet arrived at the edge of Velkir space. But they did not attack. Commodore Hana, promoted for her early victories, stood on the bridge of her new flagship and broadcast a message to the Velkir homeworld. "We anticipated you would fight us," Hana said. "We also anticipated you would learn from us. Now we wait to see which anticipation was correct." On the surface of the Velkir homeworld, Council Prime Thelvar sat in the ancient chambers where his people had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Around him sat the other council members, arguing about what to do. Some wanted to keep fighting, others wanted to surrender. But Thelvar was thinking about something deeper. "What if we were wrong about everything?" he said suddenly. The council chamber fell silent. "What do you mean, Prime?" asked one of the younger council members. Thelvar stood up slowly. "For 12,000 years, we believed our strength was in perfect calculation. We tracked the present so precisely that we thought we controlled the future. But these humans have shown us the truth. The present is already the past. By the time we calculate what is, it has already become what was." Fleet Commander Velkan stepped forward. He looked tired but thoughtful. "Prime, I have spent these months studying the humans. I believe I understand now. We Velkir are masters of the present. We calculate what exists with perfect accuracy. But humans are masters of the possible. They imagine what could exist." "And?" Thelvar asked. "And separately, we are both limited," Velkan said. "We can see with perfect clarity, but only see now. They can see tomorrow, but without our precision. Together, we could see both now and tomorrow, both what is and what could be." Dr. Jihai added her voice. "I have been working with Dr. Daewan in secret these past weeks. We believe we can combine Velkir computational power with human anticipatory thinking. We call it predictive synthesis." The council chamber erupted in arguing voices. Some called it treason to work with humans. Others called it wisdom. But Thelvar raised his hand, and silence returned. "Bring the humans here," he said. "Let us talk about tomorrow." The meeting happened on the Velkir homeworld, in a garden under a purple sky. Hana walked with Thelvar among alien flowers. Behind them, Velkan spoke quietly with Admiral Hai Sun. In another part of the garden, Dr. Daewon and Dr. Jihai showed their research to a group of scientists from both species. "My people are afraid," Thelvar said to Hana. "For 12,000 years, we were the ones who knew what would happen. Now we realize we never truly knew. We only calculated the present very fast." "Our people are afraid too," Hana admitted. "We spent 300 years in space feeling like children among ancient empires. Now we discover we have a gift you don't have. It makes us wonder what else we don't understand about ourselves." Thelvar made a sound like grinding stones, which Hana had learned was Velkir laughter. "Perhaps that is the point," he said. "You imagine what you don't know. We calculate what we do know. Neither is complete alone." "Are you proposing an alliance?" Hana asked. "I am proposing something more," Thelvar said. "A cooperation, a synthesis. You teach us to embrace uncertainty and imagine possibilities. We teach you to process those possibilities with perfect precision. Together we predict not just what might happen, but what should happen, and how to make it real." In the science section of the garden, young Ensign Tae Yang was excitedly explaining human brain patterns to a group of fascinated Velkir scientists. Commander Sang-woo was teaching Velkir pilots how to feel anticipation instead of just calculating it, and Sergeant Kyung-soo was helping Velkir security forces understand tactical intuition. Bo-Ra, the diplomat, worked with Velkan to write the treaty. It was not a peace treaty exactly. It was something new, something no one had words for yet, a merging of two different ways of seeing the universe. "What should we call this?" Velkan asked, looking at their draft. Bo-Ra thought for a moment. "The cooperative," she said. "Not an alliance where we stay separate, not a merger where we become the same. A cooperation where we each contribute what we do best." 3 months later, the first joint colony opened. They called it Tomorrow's Landing. Velkir built the structures with perfect precision, each building calculated to withstand any possible stress. Humans designed the layout by imagining how people would actually live there, anticipating needs before they arose. The result was beautiful. More than that, it worked. It worked better than anything either species had built alone. Lieutenant Yuna stood on a hill overlooking the new colony with Commander Sang-woo. "Do you think this will last?" she asked. Sang-woo smiled. "I can anticipate a lot of possible futures. In most of them, yes. We're stronger together. Most of them." "Nothing is certain," Sang-woo said. "That's what makes the future interesting." The Velkir spent 12,000 years trying to eliminate uncertainty. We spent 300 years living with it. Now we both understand that uncertainty isn't weakness. It's possibility. On the flagship orbiting Tomorrow's Landing, Commodore Hana recorded her final log entry about the war that became a cooperation. "They tried to track our movements," she said into the recorder. "They had perfect systems, perfect calculations, perfect predictions. But we weren't just moving through space. We were anticipating futures that hadn't happened yet. We lived in tomorrow while they lived in today." She paused, looking out at the colony below, where humans and Velkir were building something new together. "But here's what we all learned," Hana continued. "The Velkir were right that precision matters, calculation matters, understanding the present matters. And we humans were right that imagination matters, anticipation matters, seeing possibility matters. Neither of us was wrong. We were just incomplete." She smiled. "Now we teach each other. They learn to see what could be. We learn to calculate what is. Together we see everything, the present and the future, the actual and the possible, what is and what should be. In the end, they didn't track our movement because we weren't moving in the present. We were moving in tomorrow, and now, together, we build tomorrow into today." She ended the recording and stood up. Through the window, she could see Dr. Dae-won and Dr. Ji-hai working together in a laboratory, Velkir precision meeting human imagination. She could see Tai Yang teaching young Velkir students about human cognitive patterns. She could see the future they were all creating together. The Velkir had spent 12,000 years mastering what is. Humans had spent millions of years imagining what could be. Now, finally, they would discover what should be, and it would be extraordinary.